Hi all, and thanks for being with me. I'm forever fascinated why Sky News decide to be so sycophantic towards Donald Trump that it seems to me that they must broadcast everything that Trump says or does, and they tend to want to highlight what a wonderful person he is, and how in this particular clip I'm about to show you, how he's so pro-black that he has got the answers that everybody needs in order to solve the issues around racial prejudices and the law in the United States. The reality is that the way the African Americans are treated in the United States historically and even to today indicates that they have got some severe barriers that prevent them from receiving equity and fairness under the law and in many other areas of their lives. And it is an interesting highlight here because there's this example that they produce. James Moron produces this clip of Biden talking about racial prejudices and the issues facing black people in the US, and then we have Trump talking about it. Now, I'm going to play just a bit of these two clips for you and then talk about it on the other side, because this is an interesting issue that we must keep in mind here in Australia as well, where the Indigenous people in this country are treated so unfairly. So, and I kind of wonder what would happen if Albanese came out and gave the same sort of speech that they quote here from Biden, and what one would do if Dutton came out and gave the same sort of speech that Trump did. So let's just have a look at this, and we'll talk about it when we're
funk. I think everyone's kind of missing the point if they don't look at what Donald Trump actually said at the rally.
I think this is an interesting point, because we should be looking at the things that Donald Trump actually says at some of his rallies. And most of the time it's bullshit. And there's a clip that came out the other day of a rally he gave where he talked just absolute garbage about batteries, about sharks, about boats sinking. The man's a dick, and he is the worst possible representation of humankind that you could possibly get. Yet these guys tend to hold him up as some sort of saviour, which he is not. And here's an example of them doing just that.
And then contrast it really properly with what Joe Biden is out there saying. Because only then will you understand not only why tens of thousands of locals came out for Trump on a Thursday afternoon, but why Trump's message is eating away at the Democrats' traditional stronghold of voters in the black and Hispanic communities. Let me break it down for you. Trump empowers minorities. He doesn't pander to them.
We must remember that the incidents where Trump years ago declared that 5 African Americans had killed a person in the park, whatever that park is, in the United States, and where we must remember that he used to put on the top of application forms. He used to put when people were applying for jobs, applying for accommodation. He used to put N at the top of their applications forms, indicating they should not get that particular residence, primarily because they were Negro. His prejudice is heaps deep. He's a prejudicial individual, and there's no disputing any of that really. Yet here they are lauding how wonderful he is around African Americans and their rights. Now, let's just have a look further at what Biden has to say.
On the other hand, tells them they're victims and that everything bad that happens to them is someone else's fault. Don't believe me? Let me prove it to you. Let me show you a little bit, first of all, of Joe Biden speaking at the historically black Morehouse College the other day in the U.S.
You missed your high school graduation. You started college just as George Floyd was murdered. And there was a reckoning on race. It's natural to wonder if democracy you hear about actually works for you. What is democracy? If black men are being killed in the street, what is democracy? Betrayal of broken promises still leave black communities behind. What is democracy? You have to be 10 times better than anyone else to get a fair shot.
Got that?
Yes, because James Moron, that is the truth in the United States. And to discount it is to denigrate African Americans, to not understand what it is like for African Americans to fight against a system that's laid against them is immense. And this is an example where the right don't understand what Joe is saying. This is just an opportunity to criticise Joe Biden. That's all this is. Nothing more, nothing less. Even though Joe is saying what is elementary and which is the truth for African Americans in that country.
Joe Biden is saying is if you're black, you're a victim, automatically.
No, if you're black, you have these barriers to overcome. This is what he's saying.
Forget democracy. The system, he's saying, is rigged against you. And even...
Yes, because you dick, it is.
Trying to kill you. Any one of you, as a black American, he's saying, could wind up getting killed by the cops just like George Floyd. Even if, unlike Floyd, you led a perfectly blameless life. And you have to work 10 times harder, Biden said, to get ahead. Gee, how inspiring.
How truthful is that? This is the issue. And these morons on Sky News tend to ignore this elementary fact that if you are black in America, you have got a whole host of barriers in which you need to overcome. And one of those is the system itself.
Now, though, let's have a look at what Donald Trump had to say in New York.
It doesn't matter whether you're black or brown or white or whatever the hell color you are, it doesn't matter. We are all Americans, and we're going to pull together as Americans.
Now, remember, if you listen to the media, they'll tell you that...
So they just quote this one element, this one statement that he makes, because this is what actually Trump is good at. He knows that is in the Bronx. He knows that in New York they vote primarily for Democrats. And he did have a large crowd there, no disputing any of that. And he also knows that talking about African American issues by saying that everybody's equal and all that sort of shit is what people want to hear. But in reality, that's not what Trump himself believes. He's just telling people what they want to hear. Whereas we contrast that with Joe Biden. Joe Biden is telling people what the reality is for African Americans. And that is the difference. You know, Trump is not capable of looking at intellectually and emotionally and psychologically what it is like for African American people. He just says, no matter what colour you are, you know, you're all equal. Well, that's untrue to start with. That isn't the way that it works. If you're wealthy, you're at an advantage over those people that are poor. And if you after you find yourself within the judicial system, you're going to find that you don't have the advantages that Trump has, for example, being a wealthy person, being able to employ the best solicitors that he can. So the whole system is stacked against African Americans. And that's what Biden was talking about. But people like James Moron do not understand this issue. They do not. And it really annoys me that at one level we want to be able to focus on what it's like for people to experience a dysfunctional system and to acknowledge that this is their experience. And on the other hand, to say that, well, you know, you're all the same. Well, firstly, that's a lie. And that, you know, I do celebrate people who do talk about things from a realistic perspective, who understand exactly what it's like for the other person, even though they themselves may, you know, Joe Biden, for example, has a sense of, you know, he's a person who with power, with authority, with wealth, with everything going for him, but he can at least understand what it's like for those people that don't have the same privileges that he has. I think that's important for us to acknowledge. But Sky News insist on continually focusing on these aspects of Donald Trump. Now, we haven't heard them talk about this bizarre shit that he talks about at most of his rallies. They don't talk about that. And that should be talked about, because the man's demented. And it really is an issue that the United States accepts an individual who is in far greater decline than anything they may say about Joe Biden. These are important issues for all of us. But nevertheless, they want to focus on what Trump has to offer, which actually has no substance whatsoever. So let me know what you think in the comment sections below. You know, should we be taking on board what James Moron has to say? Or should we start looking at things a little bit more realistically? Start focusing on actually what's happening for people and start talking about that. I think we should across the political spectrum, no matter where you are. These are issues that we face here in Australia as well. Let me know what you think in the comment sections below, and subscribe to my channel for further notifications. In the meantime, take care, look after yourselves, and more importantly, be safe.